If your fashion wish list lives rent-free in your brain, you need to be on Poshmark. With Poshmark, you're shopping millions of listings from thousands of closets, each curated by someone with their own style. Vintage finds, designer pieces, and everyday staples all in one place. Search for your favorites or let the discovery come to you. Poshmark makes it easy to find what you actually want to wear at prices that feel like a quiet win. Download the Poshmark app today and use code PODCAST10 when you sign up to get $10 off your first purchase.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. Ever feel like you're being pushed or pulled in more directions than you can even begin to process? When life demands more than you can give at work, in your relationship, or at home, Talkspace can help. Talkspace provides convenient online access to therapy, psychiatry, and mental health support. Just answer a few questions online and Talkspace will match you with a licensed provider in less than 2 days, with some even offering same-day appointments. Chat with a therapist over live video, audio, or messaging so you can get mental health support that fits your lifestyle and schedule. No taking time off work, no commuting to an office, and no waiting room. Just support that meets you right where you are. Best of all, Talkspace is covered by most major insurance plans with an average copay of $15. Get space when you need it with Talkspace. And now, you can get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com. That's Talkspace.com.
Welcome to The Bridge, the show that bridges the gap between Eastern and Western medicine, science and spirituality, physical and energetic health. If you're seeking to heal from within, ultimately achieving the pinnacle of health and well-being for your mind, body, and spirit, then rest assured, this show is tailored just for you. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. I'm a heart-centered, Harvard-trained epidemiologist, researcher, medical intuitive, and transformational health and longevity doctor. Basically, I find the clues that every other health practitioner misses because they're looking in the wrong place. Welcome back to The Bridge, a transformational health podcast with me, Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. You know, censorship has grown into a big buzzword since the beginning of the pandemic. If you've been paying attention, then you know that we've been witnessing many brave and honest people with integrity who genuinely care being censored, especially in the name of science, research, and health. I'm no stranger to being censored, but the scary thing is, the one doing the censoring has been me. I've been censoring myself out of fear. And if we're censoring ourselves and not speaking our truth, not saying what we really think, is that in alignment with being healthy? That's exactly what we're going to talk about on today's show. If you've been listening to the show, then you know that this year of 2024 has been an extremely challenging one for me as a result of very poor quality dental care I received back in January. And the challenge still isn't over yet. Over the years, I've been on the receiving end of treatment by many awful doctors who obviously do not have the best interest of our optimal health and well-being at heart, and they aren't exactly the pictures of optimal health themselves. With each experience, and don't worry, over time I will tell you all of my stories, it's become harder for me to keep my mouth shut, and this year, it's become nearly impossible. I finally got the courage to share some of my honest feelings about the dentist who started this entire nightmare for me back in January. And after one of our recent conversations here on the show about what I witnessed in the waiting room at the neurologist's office, I told you that I promised to start speaking up. And I'm a woman of my word. Integrity is one of my highest values, and I do my best every moment of every day to intentionally make choices and live my life in alignment with those values. So as a result, I decided to share some of my feelings in a Google review about the dental practice. But my podcast family, it did not go so well. I'm going to read to you what I wrote. I'm going to leave out all identifying names and information from this review. And then I'll tell you what happened. So here is what I wrote. Keep in mind the context of this is that back in December of 2023, before this entire nightmare started in January, I had gone to this dental practice, just had my teeth cleaned, and started to establish my care there as a patient. And I did have a good experience. And so I had written a 5-star review. Now, here's what I wrote just very, very recently. I must retract my original review and give my very honest and sincere feedback. I'm a Harvard-trained epidemiologist and health and longevity practitioner. And if you value your health and longevity, then I strongly recommend not becoming a patient at this practice if you're considering it for your dental care. Unfortunately, I was seen by a doctor in their practice who turned my life into a living nightmare after what should have been a routine crown procedure in January. I spent every moment of every day living in excruciating pain, and every step of the way they continued to put the blame on the patient, stating that I'm just a, quote, slow healer, rather than investigating what mistakes may have been made that led to the extraordinary pain. Wow, talk about degrading and belittling. Turns out they were wrong. It's time for doctors to take personal responsibility for their mistakes, and we must be the ones to hold them accountable. I would never refer a client, friend, family member, or complete stranger to this practice. Please protect your health. That's my goal with this review. And that's what I wrote. In less than a few hours after I posted this review, I started getting email notifications telling me that people were reacting with prayer hands and gratitude to that Google review. Well, unfortunately, not everybody was grateful, my friends. A few days after I posted the review, I actually received a certified letter in the mail from the dental practice and one of its owners threatening me with legal action if I did not take the review down. Yeah. Wow. I will tell you that I was very angry and very upset. And let me ask you all of this. Why do doctors get to make mistakes and not be held accountable like everyone else? Why do they get to censor people when their reputations are on the line just because they don't want people to know the truth? Maybe here's a novel suggestion to all y'all doctors out there. Why don't you just do your job well? Why don't you just be integral, care about your patients or clients, and do the right thing? Why don't you just do a good job? And why don't you just admit to your mistakes when you make them so people don't have to live with the consequences of your ineptitude? Just a thought. So I took the review down. And I'm feeling sick over it because I censored myself. And that is not a healthy choice. And I'll be honest, it's also not the first time I censored myself. I've been censoring myself since the start of the, quote, pandemic. I'm an epidemiologist and I know the truth, and I've always known it. In fact, I've studied it and I've published a paper about it with some of my colleagues. Yet, I've chosen to keep my mouth shut out of fear. Until May of 2023, I was working with a public speaking coach when I started to discover the truth about COVID and the vaccines, which we will discuss on another episode more in depth, but you can refer to my recent publication on the topic in the show notes. Around that time, I told my coach I wanted to speak up, and he said he supported me. But after I did a podcast interview and started to get serious about using my voice in a bigger way, he changed his mind. One day on a random Friday, I get a text from him on a day that we weren't scheduled to meet or connect at all. He asked me if I had time to talk that day, and I immediately got a gut feeling. My intuition and I knew something was off, so I agreed to chat. When we got on the phone, he said, and I quote, "I've talked to a lot of important people who know what they're talking about, and they said if they were me and working with you, they'd GTFO. So I can't help you with this anymore. And if you decide to continue talking about it, then you'll destroy my reputation, my career, and my family. I can't work with you." GTFO, for anyone who doesn't know, means get the fuck out. Wow, again. And also talk about extreme and talk about completely awful, especially since he was and still is completely wrong. But what did I do? I didn't open up my mouth. I didn't use my voice. I didn't speak my truth. I censored myself. My choice. And I did it for years. until last year when this guy was stupid enough to accidentally send me a voice note of him talking about me behind my back to one of his colleagues, and all they were doing was bashing me. I knew then that I was so done with him. But you know what I still did? I continued to censor myself out of fear. When we are self-censoring, we are totally out of alignment with being truly and optimally healthy on every level. Because since being healthy is being connected, when we are fully connected and aligned with ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, we would only be able to say what we really think, to speak our truth. And I admit I was not. This is one way I was completely out of alignment with myself, and I knew it in my heart, and it made me feel terrible, and it made me feel not fully connected. And for me personally, that is the worst feeling in the entire world. So today is the end. No more self-censoring. If we are not saying what we think, we aren't being truly healthy because we aren't being ourselves or true to ourselves. In fact, we're totally disconnected from ourselves. And how can we expect to be really seen and understood in the world if we cannot even bring ourselves to just say the thing? We can't. While it might feel dangerous to say what you think and speak your truth, especially if you're not in the habit of doing that, in reality, I promise you, it is far more dangerous to not. Imagine what the world will look like if we do not go through what seems to be dangerous to us. And there's a paradox here because often what seems dangerous to us is truly the safest thing. When we self-censor, that feels safe, but it is actually the most dangerous thing. Being healthy isn't just about doing what's best for you. It's about doing what's best for the future, including our children. And the absolute safest thing for us and for our future is to be sovereign beings. And part of that means that safety comes through our willingness to experience the feeling of danger, to say the things that will help shape the landscape of the future that we want the world to live in. So we all have a choice. I have a choice, and you have a choice. We can choose comforting lies and dishonesty, or we can choose dangerous truth. And I don't know about you, but I'm going all the way dangerous truth, all the way, baby. If you hesitate to speak your truth and feel tempted to bite your tongue or censor yourself because you're feeling that fear, remember that the fear is just a lie. The fear will get your mind to create a story to rationalize why it's too dangerous. And that story is 100% make believe. It's not worth believing. And someone I respect a lot recently told me to consider pleasure versus pain. The fear you feel when you convince yourself to censor yourself is the pain motivator. You start to imagine the potential worst case scenarios that might happen if you just say what you think. But on the other side of this is pleasure. And you don't really know freedom until you give yourself the freedom of speech. We live in a world now where we all see censorship happening in very big and very small ways, everywhere. And if you're aligned and listening to this show, then I'm sure it pisses you off and triggers you and gets you upset. I know it's sure made me feel this way from time to time. But truthfully, we all censor ourselves more than anyone else ever does or ever will. And when we do that, we are literally taking away our own freedom. The ego is like the inner bully in our minds, right? It just wants safety. It doesn't want pain, pleasure, meaning, or anything but safety. This is something we have total control over. And until we take control, the world will be the mirror to us to show us what we still have yet to embody. And we must embody our own freedom and truth, not our own fear. when we let fear govern our decisions, when we don't express what we truly think and feel, when we say yes when we really want to say no, when we don't open up our mouths because we just want to please others, these are all forms of self-abandonment. If you are abandoning yourself, you're totally disconnected from yourself, and that is the opposite of being healthy. And as you know, this show is about being healthy, and it's about higher health. And the essence and foundation of being healthy is being connected to yourself and to your source. So please, for yourself, for your health and longevity, and for the whole world, say what you think. The people in your life who love you unconditionally and hold space for you to be and express all that you are, they'll still be there. And you can speak your truth with love. I really hope that you can feel the love and positive and supportive energy that I'm infusing into this podcast episode today. Remember that the world needs your light. So trust yourself and your heart. Trust your own voice. And one of the ways to do that is by staying connected to yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and to your source. That's all that being truly healthy is. I'll see you next time, podcast family. Thank you so much for listening to The Bridge, a transformational health podcast with yours truly, Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. If you enjoyed the show today, it would mean so very much to me if you subscribe to the show and leave an honest, positive review. You can easily subscribe by going to the upper right-hand corner of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and press the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. Also, be sure to sign up for my email list and join our private community to get even more content, value, and support on your health and well-being journey. You'll find these links in the show notes. Sending you so much positive and supportive energy today. I really hope you can feel it.